Hi, everyone, and thanks for coming to our 100th episode of the From the Bench Virtual Studio Tour Series. My name is Sarah Songer, and I'm the Program and Studio Manager at San Francisco Center for the Book. And we're thrilled, I could not be happier, to introduce our guest today, Eleanore Edwards Ramsey. Eleanore Ramsey is an American design bookbinder. She received a Bachelor of Arts degree and began studies in American and English bookbinding with Dr. Harry Green in 1975. She continued her studies in fine binding in the French tradition with Barbara Hiller from 1975 to 1980. She has been exhibiting her work, teaching fine binding, and accepting commissions privately since 1980. And with that, we're doing it different today. Here we are. Eleanor, thank you so much for agreeing to do this and taking the time today.
Thank you for your invitation. I'm honored.
I thought maybe we'd start by just talking a little bit about your early years. We're in San Francisco right now, but you're not from here.
No, actually, I was born I determined what I was meant to do in life. And I discovered it quite by accident by working at a used and rare bookstore called the Bookstall in Rockford, Illinois. It was very interesting. I was just out of college, and I just followed my roommate to this little town outside of Chicago. And I could never pass a bookstore. So I went in, and he offered me a job after we, spoke for a while. And that really began my career in books.
What kind of books did he sell?
Just a general used and rare
Okay.
books. And I would have to, find books in the AB Weekly, and it was a very fun job. And he started me off asking me to do some dusting. It was the proverbial old bookshop with lots of dust and cobwebs and whatnot. And so I have had the responsibility of getting to know them by picking them up and dusting them off, generally on a tall ladder. But it was very interesting. The books were stacked, 2 layers deep.
And that's as a craft.
I was very interested in, I was sure I was meant to do something. So that one day there, early on, I reached back behind books and found this very unusual, very tall shelf. So it was rather isolated, and I opened it up. It's in French, but there is some English, and it said Contemporary French Binders. This was from an exhibition at the Museum of Contemporary Crafts in New York in 1964. And I opened it up, and I saw these books that were just incredible. And I just, it's in black and white, but I had never seen anything like this. And I instantly had to do it. I just wanted to do it. And so everything changed from that point. I finally had a focus. Well, in your early 20s and you're not quite sure what you're going to do, it's wonderful to make this decision.
And so is that what led you to study with Dr. Harry Green? Was he your first teacher?
Well, once I knew what I wanted to do, I started reading and buying books about it. But because there was no internet, I couldn't find anyone. So I started writing letters, in the old way. And, I wrote fine printers. I wrote Henry in Pennsylvania, Burdenville Press.
Okay.
And I just, every place I could, I wrote. And somehow, and I don't remember how I found out about Barbara. And it's, I don't know why I didn't hear about Laura Young in New York, but I didn't. And I decided, I was very shy. So I didn't write her ahead, just, and I
Did
called.
you ring her doorbell?
No, I actually phoned. But she referred me, she said she was very busy, and she referred me to Dr. Green,
Okay,
who was teaching out at SF State then, and he just retired, so he welcomed me as an intermittent student, private lessons. And I worked with him for a while and learned, how to make case bindings and
Sure.
that sort of thing. And then when he said eventually that he had taught me all he could, and he would call Barbara Hiller. And so he introduced me. That's how I finally got back with her. She had a studio in a big building downtown.
Hmm.
I was totally impressed. I thought, my goodness, those little shops that are inside of a big building.
Yeah.
They're just charming.
Well, she had a storefront?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. It's just one store within, one shop within this big building.
Got it.
And there I met all kinds of wonderful students, including Donna Clayster. We had some lessons together. And he at that time was living in Paris. So I loved it. I managed to get 6 months off from my employment. I was a social worker, and I just did tooling for 6 months, every day, all day, for 6 months. And at the time, I remember I had the Watergate hearings on every day. So that took care of tooling, and then I went back to work, having to support myself. So I just continued until I did get a divorce. I think my husband didn't think I had time for him.
Sounds like maybe you didn't. That's okay.
He did make me tables.
These tables?
Yeah. And my tooling cabinets and a big paper cabinet and various things.
Supportive, that's.
Yeah, but anyway, so at that point, Barbara said, why don't we find a studio together? So we had become pretty good friends, and we eventually, we were 10 years together at a studio not far from here.
Oh, yeah?
On Divisadero and Sacramento.
So you found a new space together.
So we found a new space, and it was one of those railroad flats, a long hallway with rooms leading off. And she had the first 2 rooms. The first room she taught in, and the second room she had her guillotine and bigger equipment. And in the third room, they're all kind of in a row on both sides. We had a room that students could come and work during certain hours. They were free to come and work.
Oh, wow.
And so it was really fun. And then I had 2 rooms and a big kitchen in the back. And we would leave notes to each other in the kitchen about how our day was going, or how the cats were behaving.
So were you sort of ships passing rather than, was it nice to have somebody around?
Oh, it was wonderful. We eventually started playing little jokes on each other. And I do recall Halloween one year that I hung a big artificial spider, black and hairy, above her door, so that when she opened it, I had the door shut. So when she opened it, the spider would announce its presence. But things like that, and it wasn't unusual that we would do that. And we would take backpacking expeditions, like up in the Olympic National Forest for a week.
Wow.
It always rained. It always rained, and so we were extremely prepared. But we had a very good time.
Obviously, bookbinding is kind of a solo undertaking. I'm sure you didn't really collaborate. Did you Did you run things by each other?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, often,
Yeah.
all the time, yeah. And we borrow things back and forth, and we were always having dinner together, and we'd make dinner in the kitchen, and, after, I mean, I was working full-time, so I'd come home, and I do remember one time she said, oh, you're cleaning up. You want to be remembered for your housekeeping? She was very
Go,
tough.
Barbara.
She was a very tough lady. And other students would sometimes come down the hall and cry on my shoulder
Oh.
because they had not done something properly for their book. She was demanding, but that's how they became so good, her students.
Sure. Can I add, I don't know, from this bookbinding catalog that you found that led you to the craft, it's French. What did you?
Actually, no, but I did kind of know what I wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted to see well designed, accomplished books. And somewhere I did see some books of hers. Display somewhere. And
I pursue the French tradition, but you did pursue Barbara.
Right, exactly. So I made the judgment by seeing her work.
Yeah. So you stopped sharing a studio with Barbara because she passed away, I think.
She, what happened was we were there 10 years, and the landlord decided that it was time for us to go.
San Francisco. Yeah.
I mean, he felt like he could raise the rent, et cetera, and we were sort of a strange combination of very heavy stuff above his store.
A lot of people coming and going.
And actually, it wasn't that many. I mean, yes, we had students, but lessons are 2.5 hours, so at a time that's not really that much traffic. But yeah, so at that time we tried, we just couldn't find it. We finally gave up, which we couldn't find anything all over the city we looked, but we couldn't find anything reasonable enough.
Sure.
Things had really gone up in that 10 years. So she decided it was time for her to retire, and she would move to a family member's town in, was it Hilton Head, I think.
Oh, all the way to the East Coast.
So, yeah, I may be wrong on that. I can't remember. So there was just me. Before she left, I moved into a place on Clement Street. It was actually it was an earthquake shack from the earthquake.
Oh.
And so it was this little house. It was very strange, but it was packed with my stuff. And she didn't move until I had everything set and organized. She helped me move in. I remember us cutting up the boxes and getting ready, and she left me with a few things like that picture. And so she moved away, and I just continued working. I was teaching a lot. Yeah.
So you've had a few different studios in a few different places since then, and now you're back here in San Francisco.
Right.
And we know that people like to see the studios. That's what we bill it as. So I have a little slideshow of the space that we're in, carry you all around and make you nauseated. So I'm just gonna do a quick screen share, and then Eleanor, you can sort of talk us through. Come on. Talk us through the slides.
Okay.
Okay, here we are. This is what happens when you get to Eleanor's studio. She opens the door and says hello. So this is the first room.
Yeah.
There are many rooms. And so what happens in here?
Well, I think of this as my entry room, but it's also full of paper cabinets and tools. And off to the right here, you can you can see a little kitchen. And I have some tools, a saw, scroll saw, and a drill and a disc sander back in the corner, and a table. And what you're seeing here is a lot of rolls of leather on the table. I'm choosing colors for a project, and I need to see them laid out.
Yeah, your fearlessness with tools and new techniques is very inspiring. This is the other wall of this same room. More tools and more type holders than any human being could ever need to do. I mean, this is for teaching, correct?
Yes, but in the French manner, type, you get several letters of each type. And you need something to hold it in. So these are called composteurs, and the type is put in. Now over here, I also have some unusual ones. I couldn't resist because they will hold any size type. So all of these are for different sizes of type. But over on the other side, the type holders will adjust to hold any size. So they're very handy.
I'll go grab that one later.
This is also that same room.
The back of that same room.
Right.
And a really spectacular press.
No, this is
there any?
It's a great press. It's French. I don't know what year, but at some early point, 3 binders, San Francisco binders, went to Europe to study bookbinding and came back, and each there were 3 presses that came to San Francisco, and this is one of them. And I believe another one is at Stanford. And a third, I'm not quite sure where it is. I've been told it's in someone's living room, but I couldn't tell you.
If any of you know, put it in the chat.
It's a grand press.
It is. Moving down the hall, did you put this wallpaper in, or was this already?
It was here.
Oh, so good. This is just kind of to show people what it's like amongst your artifacts.
Well, straightforward is a Valenti Angelo print that he gave me, and some articles off to the side, and some displays of gold tooling.
And then we get to your studio space. This is how I think of it. This is your room. What do you think of it
I call it striped room.
Okay.
And yes, it has a line press, and 3 tables and cabinets and pegboard tool racks, like that. And so I could also teach in there, but I can work in there as well. Right now, it seems to be laden, the tables full of projects that I'm working on.
So back out in the hallway and looking in, this is the room that you and I are sitting in now, at that table to the right there.
Right.
And this is the teaching room with 3 benches for students.
So everybody has a table.
Everybody has a table. And this one's always very clean when we see it.
That's because that's before picture. I clean it up before you come. But usually, if you came at an odd hour, the benches would be covered with some project working on. I try to just keep one. Well, I'm actually working on 2 or 3 at once, but one really hands-on
Project at any time.
Yeah.
This is just to give people an idea of the visual delights of being in your space, how there's always something to look at. Flea market finds and things, and then lots of, speaking of students, student bench. So you also then started taking on students?
I was studying with her, and one day she said, you need to start teaching. And I said, I'm really not interested in teaching. It's a good idea, but I just, I don't think that's my cup of tea. So I'm not planning on doing that. And she said, oh, how do you think you're going to support yourself? Well, of course, I had no idea what I was going to do, except I knew I was and work. She arrived and she said, by the way, your first student is going to arrive on Saturday at 10 o'clock.
She picked them for you.
She arranged this and said, without stopping, said, and this is what you're going to say, and this is what you're going to do, and this is what you need to have.
Oh,
And that was it. Answer. It was our. So
do you think there was, or was it more pragmatic?
more pragmatic, frankly, to see me succeed.
Sure.
And I was so addicted to finding that it was just a pleasure. It
Yeah.
is just always a pleasure to work. It's fascinating, and so you just can't get bored.
Well, the tea cup of tea, but you are excellent at it and you fake it well.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
The picture on the screen here now is the most tense portion of a student lesson where someone has asked Eleanor to come and use her magic fingers to feel whether something is good enough to move on. And the answer is generally no. So I want to get to experience this moment of all the students in the audience here are laughing in a knowing fashion. This is Eleanor about to say, there's something here and something here and something here. Your magical fingers are incredible, but you, much like Barbara, really, I mean, I can't imagine you making anybody cry, but the standard to which you teach your students, you found a very gentle way of establishing a very high bar in a kind and gentle way. So I think you've done a real service for
Well,
the bookbinding community and all of your teaching. Thank you.
thank you very much. I do think it's important to have your technique as good as, you don't want to see a book and just look at technique. That would be terrible. That's not what you're looking at a book for. And so it has to be reasonably good, or that's what you look
That's
at.
what you see.
Yeah.
It's true. This is a comic thing on the wall here in your studio. I always hoped that I would come up with something to put on it, but I haven't. Would you explain what this is?
This is a list of bookbinding, well, not really bookbinding terms, although we use them as bookbinding terms, and they are words expressing a molecule amount of space or thickness, or we have things like, oh, a hair. So you just need to cut a hair off a little piece of paper. A dash, a skosh, a gnat, a tad, a dribble, a wisp, and things like itsy bitsy. So I'm hoping to do this next year after all these years in there. And there are some words here that Barbara contributed to. So that's how long it's been going. But I was hoping to go to the Center for the Book and learn a bit about printing and do a miniature book of miniature terms.
Please do.
I
I have an idea. Talk about that later. This is another funny.
This is the Xerox from a text page from a French textbook, and it shows what rounding and backing should look like. And I put it up for my students, and they joke about it. But you can see that the bottom row is improper rounding, and they're all called mauvais because they're bad. So that was the key word, the terminology. And number one at the top is the ideal.
It's the only good one. Yes, so I don't, I feel like I was told, maybe not by you, that there's no cursing in lessons unless it's in French.
Oh, yes, I did do that. So it was okay to say merde if you had to.
And mauvais is
Yes,
another one
yeah.
that people berate themselves with. I included this picture of thread storage because I think it's a helpful and ingenious tip.
Well, there was a drugstore going out of business not too far from my studio. This is when I was on 31st Avenue in Richmond. I looked at these jars on the display of things they're trying to sell and get rid of. And I just thought, I had a drawer full of thread, bookbinding thread, to sew books together. And it was in a total state of disaster. There were ends, and it was just an entire knotted mess. And I looked at these and I thought, they might fit. So I bought a couple and I rushed to the studio. And I realized that they did fit. So I went numbers on top or the thread weight, and then I poked a hole in so that they all fit together. And I can find them.
And they fit in the card catalog.
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
I just left in a few pictures of some more of your delightful artifacts to look at, such as this shelving of wooden birds, pencil sharpeners, and a wax foot. If anyone can find the wax foot, you get a prize. Little book object. Is there sherry in it, Eleanor?
No, but this was a gift from Colleen Curry, and she and some other binders bought this at an auction, I think at the Guild, because when someone would finish a book, we would have a glass of sherry or port, just a little one to celebrate, because it's an accomplishment.
It is.
So that was a way of complimenting.
You have some Japanese pieces from your family.
Right, and this was for my amusement in the striped room. I have this on the wall, and it's an old, very old Japanese mask that was used for parades and whatnot. And I'm sorry, I can't really tell you more about that.
That's okay. This is my favorite thing in your studio, the front and back view of the hippo. It's right here.
These are absolutely fabulous, and it really is a hippo, and these are actual photographs.
Yes, they are.
I mean, and they look very real, and he is very real, and you can see little hairs and everything.
In the animal theme, now we get to the gorilla, which I'd like to ask you just a little bit about Coco, because it's such a fun story, and so impossible to believe in modern times. So tell us a little bit about your experience with Coco the gorilla.
Well,
I'm going to go here.
Okay, here's Coco. And, I don't know who I was then, but vice president. And so she spent 2 days a week at the Gorilla Foundation, and she would take care of Coco. And they were teaching her sign language. And it was fascinating. And during lessons, Barbara would tell us wonderful Coco stories. She was incredibly inventive. For example, a ring is a finger bracelet. So she invented words to describe things. It was quite extraordinary. It was really fun.
And you got to spend literal hands-on time.
Yes. And here Coco was very young, but it was so much fun. It was a very special occasion to be in touch with a gorilla and hold her and chat with her.
And take her out in the car.
Oh, yes, we did that one time. Penny Patterson, who was the president, took Coco was in the passenger side of the front, and I was in the back behind the driver, and Penny was driving, and we went to McDonald's and to the drive-through. And I was always remarking that the people around us in cars didn't even notice a gorilla sitting there just as big. I mean, she was huge, right?
She was big at that point.
Yeah, I visited several times, but yeah. So Penny pulled up to the cashier and ordered hamburgers. And I don't think I'll ever forget Coco eating this hamburger. You have to imagine very large hands holding this little tiny, I mean, it looked tiny in her hands. And she just opened her mouth and popped it in one bite. That was it. It was gone.
The picture I skipped is the image here on the wall to our right, actually, and this is Coco's father.
Yes, Buona. This is Coco's father.
We were admiring the hands, the rendering of the hands earlier,
Yes,
so we just wanted to
yes.
show you that.
This is by a well-known artist, Eleanore Dickinson, and Barbara gave me this picture.
So we'll go past, and that's Barbara and Coco.
Right, and this is Coco is just a little babe.
Tiny, tiny.
Yeah. And here Coco is looking at herself in a mirror, and below is a cat. This was a present to me. Barbara had Coco draw up something, do some artwork for me. And Barbara asked her what it was after she was finished, and she said, "Bird finished." So
that's what it's captioned.
Yes, exactly. And that was in 1975.
And I don't know, I can see a bird in there.
I don't think I do.
You don't? I see the top of its head, and it's kind of got a vertical back, and then the feathers. It is missing, which makes it tricky.
Okay.
But would I have come up with that without the title? I don't know.
Looking at this from far away, I do see this shape. It could pass.
I just wanted to call people's attention. You have a new website that Incia Dot has helped you with. I know she's helped a lot of people in the book arts community with their tech.
Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely amazing, and a big thank you to her. Yeah. So getting some tech help is an incredible thing. So I think Jenny's going to put that in the chat, and it has a lot of pictures of your work and a lot more information if people are curious, because obviously most of your work is in collections. It's not like we have things here.
And unfortunately, because the computer wasn't around when I was doing a good deal of my work, it's on slides, and I probably will never have time to look at them. But
yeah.
So I'm very grateful to Lindsay.
Yeah. Can't leave without saying hi to Thomas. Hi, Thomas, who's been very quiet. Thank you. And then with that, we'll finish the studio tour. So Eleanor, thank you. Thanks for talking us through that.
Thank you very much.
You have a couple of physical things here that we can show just before we wrap up. And you've got this mock-up here of a design, and maybe I can
just do. A kind gentleman turned me on to this book. It's illustrated by Brock, and this is just my mock-up. It's called, it's a play by Renee Shar about a town that for everyone they were all fishermen, and they were fishing for eels. So it's called The Sun on the Water. So it opens like this, and these pieces will be mounted, to the flyleaf. So The Sun on the Water. But the Brock illustrator and the book are just wonderful. And it's the first time that he used his bird drawings in his work.
And this is generally how you work when you're planning out a binding. You make sort of a physical paper mock-up, you see lots of notes on there and things.
Right.
Um,
I'm very anxious to do it. I want to see if it works. I
Which
didn't
part?
mention, but these silver pieces are representing sterling silver. And I'm
Mm.
thinking of that as because the felt being sung on the water, think of reflections on water.
Mhm.
And so that's the silver reflections. I like to have designs incorporate a lot about the book.
Sure. How novel. And then I know I've got a lap full of these that maybe you can pick up and show one or two. This is another thing that you've been working on, maybe for longer than recently.
But yes, these are a long time project, and I'm very anxious. I have a commission for some, and anxious to get back to work, which is what I'm going to be doing after tomorrow. But this is, shall we say, a container. I developed these when Barbara was still with me. And she came back the next day after we discussed it. Just get something?
Of course. I'm just gonna. See what it is. It's all magnets holding these pieces together to make a shape.
Oops. So much for squeaky
Yeah,
chairs.
well.
So she came back the next day and she said, because we were discussing, and so her idea was to call them a neodymium ferrite boron polar dynamic polyhedric isosahedron alternate shaped container for ephemeral. So it reverses and is full of magnets. So it reverses to both sides, giving you the opportunity to decorate both sides. And it just kind of snaps together in a
Incredible.
fun way. And this is called the dodecahedron. This is still in process, but this was a model just to see if this was going to work out. And it's got things wrong with it. But that's how I proceed with the next model to see.
So if you can see what's wrong with it, you can't see what's wrong with it because it's too minor. But they don't align quite. There's a little bit of a gap between some of them, but I just want them to understand how precise it is.
So this is a dodecahedron before it's covered. So you can see it snaps to attention.
So you have to do all the mocking up, getting all the measurements, all the joints, all the hinges, everything correct. Then you spend all the time to pair the leather, to put it all together, to then
Exactly.
find out more.
Yes. Yes.
So this is why it's
Exactly.
taking a while.
So here's a tetrahedron. So I'm working on all the solids. But they're very fun.
They're very satisfying. That clack is unbelievable.
So I have, cube.
Yeah, that's very sweet.
Cubes are nice. So I'm just setting up this. Or it's
Well, that's a good problem.
I'm also working on some boxes. I have this on my website. I love making boxes in an unusual shape. And I think I showed this when you're at the handbook binders, and I called it an amoeba box. But
It's beautiful and
they're
perfect.
they're fun and quite sturdy.
For sure.
So
It reminds me of a putting green. Well, Eleanor, thank you. I think we've sort of covered it, and it doesn't look like anyone's decided to chat any questions. So I think you're off the hook for spontaneous question answering unless someone gets to it real fast. Well, we'll wrap it up for the day. So thank you again, Eleanor.
Thank you, Sarah.
It's been fun.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And thank you all for coming. Yay, 100 episodes. We're going to keep
Wonderful to see
going.
you all.
We're going to take July off because it's too close to the 4th of July holiday, but we'll be back in August for more artists. All right. Thanks so much.